Are you divorced and want to know how to find Mr. Right? We have an amazing show for you today with some amazing women. So this is the Divorcee's Guide to Marriage Prep, and we're going to walk you through step by step how to make yourself and maximize your own potential so that you can be the best future wife ever. 3 anonymous guests. They've got these avatars, they've got fake names, fake everything, so that they can be as honest and open and share where they're coming from and ask their questions. Talia, Naomi, and Miriam. Welcome, ladies. Thanks for being here. Okay, this is very weird. This is kind of like the witness protection plan, but we're going to start with we go in very deep, very fast on Ladies Talk Show. So we're going to start with a deep question, which is, if you had to do introspection, we're going to do a lot of things here in terms of giving you over stuff, but I just want to say, if you had to start with introspection of the one biggest regret or mistake that you yourself have made. We talk a lot about, it's very easy to blame, and they, and maybe they are to blame 99%. I want to know that 1% thing that you wished you had changed, because, and this is something, this may take a lot of introspection. I don't know how long each of you have been divorced and whether you've had time to do reflection, whether you've had time to get therapy or get a confidant or read self-help books and get yourself, to figure it out. That's step number 1. For everybody who's watching, step number 1 is figuring out not what he did wrong. That's easy. Okay. You can write a book on that. Maybe you have. Okay. I want to know what you have done, because that is going to be critical to your moving forward. So let's just start with that. Okay, go.
Well, Leah, is it possible, though, I know everyone's anonymous, but is it possible to just give a sort of like a rough idea of how long people are divorced? Because I feel like someone who's, let's say, in the process or whatever, may, like, you're in different levels
fine.
of divorce.
Okay, so Talia raised her hand first. So Talia, why don't you, is that Talia with the red hair? Yes, Talia, and then and tell us how long you've been divorced also.
Hi. I have been divorced for 5 years.
Okay.
I was married for 7.
Okay, fine. So then tell us, so let's start right ahead with the thing you wished you had changed or improved, or something, the 99% is his fault. We get that, okay? We want to know that 1%.
The 1% I wish I could take back was going to family and friends for help. If I had
before the divorce or after the divorce, you're saying?
Oh, you're asking during our marriage, I'm saying.
I see. Okay, well, why is that?
I think that I should have reached out to like a therapist or a professional to seek guidance and to have a confidence, because I was calling up his parents, I was calling up my parents, and it just caused a lot of chaos and blaming. And I feel that I should have reached out to somebody who could have helped us quicker than going to his family.
Yeah, so good. Okay, Miriam.
Okay, so I think every situation is different. I think in my specific case, I've been divorced now about 7 years, 8 years, and I was only married close to 3. I personally, I went through all the different avenues before I headed towards divorce in order to give me sanity. So, for example, I hit the avenue of therapy while I was married. I hit the avenue of reaching out to doctors, to rabbis, to family, and I did not really reach out to friends. But although I did have their, opinions and stuff, I did hear it out. I wanted to have a sense of no guilt. Not that I could have, I should have, I would have, maybe if. I didn't want any of that on my head. Therefore, I hit all the different avenues before heading towards divorce. So
which is fantastic. But that is something you did that we would encourage everybody to do. You should pat yourself on the back for that. That's fantastic. Where we want to look right now is what ways of being or ways of mistakes in thinking you had at that point, that understanding what you did to make the divorce happen, and maybe it was all your husband, I get that, but understanding that about yourself is what will allow you to move on to your next marriage.
I think there were clues. I think there were red flags while I was dating. I think my mistake was I didn't listen to my intuition, and I didn't listen to that. Why is he asking me? How come I didn't pick up his phone call, and why I'm calling him back now when he's busy? I mean, how in the world am I supposed to know if someone's busy unless they tell me? So there were cues, there were hints here and there while I was dating, but listening to them, I think, would be, a huge lifesaver.
I hear that. So, Miriam, my question for you is, what do you think it is going to take to have you be prepared for your next husband?
To trust myself, to trust my own intuition, to listen to my own feelings.
Mm-hmm. Can I be a little bit harsh here? You sure? So, because I want to help you and I want to get you married again quickly. You're a lovely person, and intuition and gut feelings are probably not the best way to pick a future husband. Probably could be the worst way. If you come from a dysfunctional family, well, everybody, when I ask that, everybody says I'm from a dysfunctional family, but I'm saying if there was if there was a lot of problems in your childhood, or you didn't bond and connect with your mom or your dad, or you had problems with your siblings, or you were bullied, or a million different things can come into play that make it your gut, people's gut instincts, and not work properly. I would say, of the people who I deal with or whatever, the majority should not be using their gut instincts. The majority of people should have very clear clarity on what they need, have it down on paper, not what they want in a future spouse, but what they need, okay? And you need to have clarity about those needs and go after them using your gut instinct. I'll give you an example. You have a husband, a girl, and she grows up, and her father is not trustworthy. So he doesn't do what he says he's going to do. He doesn't call when he says he's going to call. He doesn't punish her when he says he's going to punish her. Totally not trustworthy man. Okay, she grows up with that. Now she walks into a room of 200 potential husbands, and 200 of them are completely trustworthy. One is a jerk who's non-trustworthy. She's going to beeline for who? That one guy. That's because the familiarity factor means that I can talk. She's going to go after him because that's what she's familiar with. So if you were telling me, she should use her gut instinct, she's going to use her gut instinct, and every time she will pick the wrong guy. So I'm just giving you a hint to what is going to give you clarity and strength to be able to move on and use your brain rather than your heart to find a husband. Now, I realize that's politically correct in the Hollywood age, okay? When social media and all of the romance novels and everything, everyone says, oh, you got to be in love. No, finding that kind of love from the heart, that was only the last 100 years. Since the first movie came out, people said, use your heart. Before that, everything was like, oh, he's got a cow, you got a sheep, great, get married. It was all done with the brain. And that's how the most bulletproof chance you can have on finding your spouse. I've been doing this for several decades. I have a book called Shidduch Secrets. I have a book. This is Marriage Secrets. This is my book. All the royalties go to charity, to marriage. So this is Marriage Secrets. And ladies, if you haven't read this, this might be the best way for you to be prepared for being a wife. But I have another book called Shidduch Secrets, which is teaches you exactly how to get clarity on what you need. But the bottom line is using our gut instinct. That is going to send us down the wrong road every time. So I'm not knocking what you've said. I hear what you're saying, but I'm telling you, you need to step into a whole new place if you want to find your husband this year. This is the potential thing. If you are following if you do the introspection necessary and you stop blaming your spouse and you become learn about introspection, whether that's reading self-help books or going to therapists or joining groups or finding a confidant who can help you. If you do that introspection, you can get married this year. I'm not joking. This can happen this year. I've married hundreds of people. I've married one, but I'm just saying I've gotten a lot of people married by having clarity, and that's what you need, way more than gut instinct. Okay, let's give who's the other one? Who didn't talk yet? Wait a second. Oh, I see. Okay, fine. Naomi, let's hear from you. What is your thoughts on what it really from an internal, what way of being were you? And this is asking you to own up to a lot, because this is kind of spilling your guts. You're anonymous, so at least, but it's spilling your guts about what you did. What 1% was your fault in the marriage?
Okay, well, I was married for 20 years, and I can't believe it, but I've been divorced for 15 now. I never thought I would be single this long, but at the first, I didn't even entertain the thought of getting married or even having a boyfriend. I was just over it.
Right.
I knew at 9 months. No, I knew at 9 months that I had made a mistake, but we had gotten married very quickly. And right after, we met, basically, because we thought we were so in love. So the first time I was leaving was at 9 months, and then he agreed to go to therapy. So we both went to therapy independently. And he was very passive in the beginning, and then he became very aggressive. He didn't stop in the middle. So that was really a challenge for me, but I stayed. And then it took me another 18 months to leave with 3 tries. I gave up a lot of me to be with him.
You said you were married 20 years, though. What is this 9 months and 18 months?
We met in June. We were engaged in September and married in December. By February, I knew something was wrong, and by November, I was leaving the first time.
But you didn't leave. You stayed married.
But I didn't. I stayed married for 20 years. So
my question is, what deep insight can you say? You've had 15 years to think about what you might have done wrong in the marriage to cause the divorce. And the reason I want to know that so seriously, and the reason I'm staying on this topic, is because once you know that, the gates and doors will open up to your new husband. Before you know if you're blaming and everything's his fault, you'll never get over that hump to be able to.
For the divorce part of it, it wasn't his fault per se. There was really nobody at fault. We just were so very different. And
let me ask you another question.
But I know what you're getting at. So the thing is, I made myself sick to stay in the marriage, and that was my fault. I didn't know it until 7 years later when I finally left and made myself well. But I believed that I needed to be a dependent woman in order to stay in the marriage. And I have always been very independent, had my own business. I was very successful before I met him. I was not a traditional woman in any sense of the word. And then I guess I tried to leave so many times, and then I just got very, very sick. So I had to retire, and I had to depend on him totally. And
I guess that was my fault.
Okay, I hear. So just so everybody's listening, the key here, and you can see to varying degrees, it's hard for women to sort of look at this thing. And maybe I started with something way too deep and way too difficult. But in order to be able to be prepared for your second husband, which is, presumably, some people get divorced, they don't want to get married again. But if you do want to get married again, the key is to be able, you can't fix him. Blaming him and having him, be, and thinking all the stuff is him, that you might be right. It's not empowering. It's like taking all of your power away, because you can't fix anything like that. Then you're just like a victim of, with a capital V, what is it? Every doormat has a welcome sign on it. You're robbing yourself of your own power. And where the start to that power is the introspection that you need to do to think, what am I doing? What did I do in that marriage that I could have done better? Maybe that's how I should have phrased it, instead of what did you do wrong? It's like, what could you have done better? That's probably a better question. Understanding what you could have done better, that now you got power. Now, when you go into your next relationship, God willing, you will know exactly what to do to be prepared for that. So there are many, many things right now. This show is about marriage prep for a divorcee. So what's the marriage prep? The marriage prep is doing introspection on what you could have done better. Number 2 is reading self-help books. If in your past marriage, every time a conflict came up and you didn't know how to resolve it, and you had battles and you had fights and whatever, do your homework now. Use this precious time to read books on conflict resolution, to take courses on communication, to read books and to speak with people, join groups, get a therapist to figure out how can you be the best other half of a relationship you possibly can. Maybe you were great in the first marriage. Maybe you were, an A+ wife and he was just an D, minus, and that's what caused the divorce. I hear that. Most people aren't A+, and I'm using that very loosely because it's just whatever, but I'm just saying, in the various qualities, are you good in conflict resolution? Are you good in giving when you don't feel like it? Do you when you have moods, do you have self-mastery? Are you able to, instead of like you're in a bad mood and you just take it out on everybody, or are you have a bad mood and you're like, you know what, guys, I'm in a kind of a bad mood. I'm trying to work myself out of it. Let me go walk around the block, or let me, give me some space or whatever, rather than, shredding everybody around you. Do you have self-mastery? Right now is the time to grow in your character traits and become the best you can be, so that you will find and have a relationship in a second marriage that will be stronger. Okay, do I have questions before I move on?
Well, Leah, I just want to go back to your original question and understanding it better. But yeah, I think one thing that I was guilty of doing a lot in the first marriage was being very defensive and always having to explain myself, where I could have just let things go and could have been, it's not the right time. We'll discuss it with something I've learned from you. Let's discuss it when the kids are in bed. Let's sit down and have it like heart to heart, or go out of the house and have important discussions, and that was something I felt like I had to get off my chest at that time. And it like ate at me if I didn't just tell him what I wanted to say. So I think until I was out of we were divorced and I've had more time on my own, I've realized even dating and going into other relationships and meeting people, I listen first completely. I don't, if they even have something to say that I don't agree with, I just listen. And when I feel like it's the right time, either to explain myself or to find out exactly what they meant by it, I just wait for the right time and don't jump into like an argument or a heated discussion. And that's something I've really had to work hard on. It's so hard for me, but I'm working hard on it.
I get it. So Talia, here's the thing I want everybody listening to know. So first of all, Talia, you're a hero, because what you did is hard for all of us. I don't think there's anybody who's watching or listening, or me, myself, everybody's staff. that's really a hero's journey, and you should feel very proud of yourself. And it shows everybody else who's listening exactly what I'm talking about, is her ownership of her habits or knee-jerk reactions or her patterns of interacting. That was something that she is responsible for in her first marriage. And I love when you say first marriage, because that implies what, ladies? Second marriage. That's where we're going with this, okay? Is that you were able to take responsibility for if you didn't recognize it, if you had spent all your time blaming him for all the things he did and whatever, and you never looked internalized, then when you go to find your second husband, you're going to bring the baggage with you. Everyone thinks, oh, the second marriage is going to be so much better and whatever. The second marriages don't fix you. The only thing that can fix what might have been, or make it potential have a better relationship in the future, is to do the introspection, to own your stuff, own what didn't work, that you can fix, that you only can fix yourself. We all know this. I don't need me to tell you that. You can't fix your husband. You don't want to. It's no waste of time. So let's go through now. Very good. Thank you very much for sharing that, Celia.
I can, it's Naomi. I can do a little bit more explaining of what I was talking about. Tell me if you think that this is more accurate.
Okay.
I didn't stand up for myself enough whenever conflict arose. I grew up in a home where there was fighting and arguing 24/7. My parents were very nasty to each other, and I always thought that I would have a good marriage, and we wouldn't fight and we wouldn't argue. And so I think.
So can you tell me right now, knowing your childhood and knowing how you behaved in your first marriage, what can you tell me now about how you've grown into a new person so that going into your second marriage, you'll be different?
Just being able to stand up for myself, or to like if my last husband says something, and I don't like to say my second husband, I like to say my last husband. If my last husband says something and I don't agree with it, or I know that if I say something back, there'll be an argument, I need to say it anyway. Because otherwise, I just keep internalizing and internalizing and internalizing, and then I explode.
Right. So you need a better solution than saying it anyway. A better solution would be to journal, to get a therapist or a confidant or a coach or somebody that you can say, this is how I felt, and this is, and he said this, and then the person say,
oh yeah, I know.
I hear that.
I've had therapists, and yes, I actually have taught a lot of the things that you are talking about.
Okay,
so
good.
and those are interventions that I tried to use. But that was that.
Okay, good. Fantastic. Thank you. Whatever. We'll see where we are all on a journey, and we're seeing, where we can grow to maximize our chances that our last husband or second husband, whatever you want to call him, that will go well, and doing the introspection necessary. So let's go now to another issue, which is making a plan. Because I think this is sort of like we want, there's such a feeling of falling in love and having, having everything just work out naturally, and naturally didn't do so good last time. So we have to have a plan on what we're going to. So everybody should just get a journal. If people aren't journalists, you can get your phone and type it in there, or you can make notes on your computer, something. But get some way to get your heart and feeling over what you introspect of how you could have been a better wife. Make at the top of the page, write how I could have been a better wife, and start making lists of what you could have done that would have made the marriage better. Doing that is such a game changer, because you now can see, rather than blaming, which is like a poison, it's adding poison to your life. You are doing the work that God wants. We know God wants us to introspect. He wants us to grow our character. He wants us to be better people. He wants us to be closer to each other and learn how to be closer to each other. So making a list of all the things, the mistakes you've made, the things you want to grow in, where you see yourself, what your goals are for this year in terms of growing yourself to be better communicator, to being better conflict resolution person. Everybody needs a plan. Now I'm going to go to the ladies and I'm going to ask a question, which is how much on a scale from 1 to 10 are you able to get on the other side of blaming your spouse? And also with that, are you able to forgive and move on? Like, are you still carrying this beat, my ex, which is poison to your soul. It's poison to yourself. It's poison to your children. I don't know if everybody has children, but that blaming and bearing a grudge and lack of forgiveness, what's done is done, whatever, carrying those old wounds keeps us stuck in the past and is going to be a definite huge obstacle for finding another spouse. And if somebody hasn't found a husband in many, many, many years, this is one place to look at first, is what grudge are they bearing against their ex and how do they blame him? Okay, I want to hear from somebody. Let's hear. So the question is, have you been able to forgive and stop blaming even a little bit?
Yes, I actually have. And it actually happened.
How did you do it?
Okay, well, one thing I had to do is I actually I learn once a week with somebody on, I have an Amuna Bitachon book. I don't know if you want to explain what that is for any.
Amun is faith and belief in God.
Yeah, so I do a lot of learning on that topic that has let me let go of any blaming, any resentment I have towards my ex. I actually, in my mind, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of work on yourself first, because I have to kind of go, when he goes on his rants or he does anything that is not helpful for myself or my kids, I do just go, I really feel bad for him. I hope when he has an opportunity that he'll do tshuva one day in his life, and I it's not my place to judge him. I have to step away, and the less I react to him and the less I'm holding on to that anger or anything he is feeling, then I just honestly, I feel bad for him. I actually daven for him that he will get to work on himself one day and realize the pain that he's caused himself or others. But I just let go, because if I want to be happy and move on in my life and be with somebody that is what I need, then I can't hold on to anything that he does to me. It doesn't control me anymore. I had to let go. And I realized the quality of men and people that are presented to me now are so much more what I want. And I feel so different. I feel empowered, and I feel much stronger in my choices now. It's so it's so helpful. And I really, I really try to work with and talk to friends and people going through it, because it takes a lot of self-help. You have to work on yourself first and realize where you need to be stronger in order to go, that doesn't affect me anymore. I don't need to be part of that.
Okay, that's great. Let's let the other ladies go. That's fantastic. Okay, let's see. How much or little were you able to forgive and move on?
So I thought that I thought that I did forgive and move on. And for a while I did. It wasn't about the marriage that there was the conflict. It was about 2 years after the divorce, when we ended up in court for a couple of years. And so, but I forgave him. And I even sent him an email to that effect before our God holding that anger, and said, I'll never forgive you and you have to live with that, and blah, 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 blah. But crap is coming up again. And I know that it is me feeling the loss of the family that I used to have with him. So his parents, his siblings, his daughter, all of that. And so, I mean, I was the one that wanted the divorce, but um, so I think I'm working on that again. I'm realizing that I'm still, now that it's been so much time and I've gotten so much older and I don't have that family, it's starting to come up again.
I totally hear it. And may Hashem help you to find a new family that you can be part of and take care of you. If it happens. If it doesn't happen, but Allah Shalom, I mean, please God. The issue is that you're working on your recognition of that. Forgiveness kind of is one of these funny things, because you forgave somebody, but the emotions still keep reaching back to you. You have to keep volitionally forgiving and volitionally stopping to blame. It's not something that's going to be natural and you did it once and hey, I did that. No, it's an ongoing process, and it gets easier and easier as time passes. It's a gift from God that it does that, works that way. But
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I love what Naomi said. And I really, really believe that is something we all hold inside, like a loss. Like it really is a loss. Like people that lose spouses, unfortunately, or parents, and, people make meals for them. People do all these things for them. And when you have a divorce, you're really like alienated and you're in a different category. And you got to make you have to be doing 10 roles instead of 2. So and I remember feeling that loss, like the family loss, because I had a very good childhood, a very good upbringing, very family oriented. So I can't believe this is my life, these are my kids' life, this doesn't make any sense. Like I feel like sometimes I'm in a movie, like what is happening? This can't be real. And then when I take my kids into shul and I'm their mother, and I'm taking them into their groups, making sure they daven, making sure they do that, I try to, and I see all the fathers there hanging out, dropping, and I'm like the only mom there and bringing their kids. And I just realized, like, you know what? I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm getting to do this amazing mitzvah. I'm getting to come and bring my kids, and what an opportunity. And I just do something or look into myself, but this is this is my life now. These are the memories. This is what my kids will remember. And it is what it is. And Hashem chose me to do this and be an example. And we just have to realize this is our family. And I'm proud of it, and make it what it is and make it the best, and let people look at me and say, oh, how did she do it? How did you do that?
That's awesome. It's great. You should be blessed, but you should just know that in a way is a prerequisite for building something else. Otherwise, you're just dragging all of the issues into a new thing, or you don't find the other person. You have to be in the right headspace with the blame gone and the anger, that rage. Like when you went to court, I mean, I can only imagine like what the day-to-day rage you had to, contain in order to get through that. And my heart goes out. And I think that's a huge tall order for any human being to have to, well, that was meant to be, or that was the way it was, or whatever. I'm going to forgive him. I'm going to move on. I mean, that's hard. That you're working on it now with your therapist, and she'll tell you, the payoff is that you have a future that doesn't have that anger that gets you down. Let's now hear from Miriam about how she's been able to, if she's been able to, and if so, how to get over the anger and stop blaming.
There came a point, I think after the court, after everything was done, where I said to myself, I need to forgive for me and for me to be able to move on, and for me to feel better, because he doesn't need that forgiveness. I need to forgive him in order to free me. But I think what's challenging in my situation is that, if there's custody or there's visitation, that there's this back and forth and there's this constant, pick up and drop off dilemma or drama or whatever you want to call it. But there's always this back and forth where I feel like you get emotionally involved, and it's almost like every single time you have to be on top of your own feelings, where you go, okay, I'm angry now, I'm mad now, but let's let it go. I think that's deal with currently in my situation. It's like, a weekly thing, a daily thing. So um, that's the struggle.
Yeah, I hear.
And yeah.
Well, it's a daily avoda. You yourself probably don't even see the distance from where you were to where you are now. And there's really, really something special about sort of taking the time. Go, each of you ladies, go buy yourself something. It doesn't need to be exciting. $20, something, get yourself something and just say, Yeshikor, great job on surviving so far and where you're holding. And I get it. It's an uphill struggle, but that's the precise work, Miriam, that you've been doing. That work is what's going to catapult you into the future. And the question that I have now,
Leah, that's just to jump in. It's funny because I went out the other day with a friend of mine who's divorced for about 4 years now, and was married also for we're married about the same time. So I'd say probably 20 something years, with kids. And she was saying to me, so we were friends for so long. And so she knew a lot of my struggles, and I knew a lot of her struggles, and we were sort of going through a lot of the same thing because we had kids at the same time. And so while we were sort of in the marriage trajectory, we were really discussing things, and she was hearing my sort of how I was trying to grow, etc. And at one point while we're in the car talking, she says, you should just know that you're really smart that you stuck it out. And I said, wow, that's so interesting that that would come from you, because I was not expecting anything. And she says, no, I'm not saying that, this divorce wasn't meant to be. What happened, and where I am right now, it is what it is. But if I really, really think about it, right now, I'm dealing with my ex-husband, in so many ways still, with the kids, with pickups, with Yom Tovim, with different things. If I want to take my child to the doctor, I have to get his approval, and it has to go through him. And if I want to do what school, everything, I'm going through him anyways. But now I'm going through him in a divorce manner, where it's there's so much more involved. And she says, so it's not like I can just sort of let him go on the side. He's very much a part of my life still. He's very much a part of my children's life. And I'm trying to be very respectful for my kids so that, they don't get affected. She says, I'm so tired sometimes from all because when he's not around, it's all on me. And then when he is around, because I have to turn to him, I have to deal with him anyways. So she says, I'm not saying she was not saying whatever, would I do it again? I don't know. She says, I have to think about it. But she says, I do want to tell you that the fact that you stuck it out and you really said, let me figure this out. She says, Yashikach. And when she said it to me, it was really kind of, it wasn't not in any way validating, but I did put a lot of work, and I did work. And obviously you're
saying, you're sharing this to say that,
meaning I'm trying to say that it's such a hard, what Miriam is now saying, it's such a hard, what she's dealing with is, like my friend was saying, is such a hard thing that she really should feel that she, every day she should just be mechazik herself, give herself strength that, okay, this happened, it had to happen, it's what Hashem wanted. But now that she should realize it's a struggle so many others are going through in that situation. And it should also be for others who are listening, who are not at the point that maybe they're still they should also hear the other side of, it's not easy peasy on the other side either. Meaning it's all work. It's all a lot of work.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So that's for people who particularly like you said, are on a fence or feeling whatever. I mean, actually, maybe I was going to ask another question. Let's just do this one quickly, and then I'll ask my final question for the show. But taking off on what you said, Sarit, ladies, if you could each tell us if you have, and keep it kind of short because we have another important question I want to cover. What if you had to give one piece of advice to a woman who's considering divorce, what would that advice be? To keep her married. I think that's what Sarit was saying. Okay, go ahead. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay, Talia.
I think that something that you've expressed many times every week is that unless there really is abuse, and not just physical, but emotional, mental, financial, intellectual abuse, then you have to do everything in your power to get as many resources and help as possible to help you, because the problems are not going to necessarily go away when you're divorced. You're going to still have children to raise. It's going to be actually harder at first. But if there is abuse, then obviously then you really have to, walk away from it, and you'll find yourself when you're in the thick of it. Yes, it's very hard to think that there is a future and there is going to be a person coming along to, add to your happiness and compliment you more. But I think when your kids can see you be happy and be yourself, and I think my family was very happy when I did get divorced, because they were like, oh my gosh, Talia, we have you back. You're funny. You have your sense of humor. I didn't realize for 7 years how unhappy I was and how much I was enduring internally. And
okay, but right now you're telling people, what's the one thing that you could say to them to help them to stay in their marriage?
Go out more with each other. Take a break with each other.
You with your husband.
Yeah, communicate, get away for a few days. Don't talk always about your children. Find what you had in the beginning, what drew you together, and find those commonalities, find a hobby together, but work it out as much as you can, and work really hard.
Yeah. Okay, let's hear from the other ladies. And then I want to have time to get to the other questions. So go ahead. The last
I'm not sure I have an answer that you're looking for, because not all marriages are meant to last forever. And I think mine was meant to last for 20 years. And I constantly expressed what I needed and asked him to express what he needed, but nothing ever would change. So when it gets to the point where you're so sick you can't get out of bed for 7 years, then something has to give. So I can't say really that I would have any other advice, because sometimes it's just not meant to be.
Okay. All right, Miriam.
I would say the same thing. I don't know that I have any advice. I think, especially for those like, we mentioned earlier that those who were through abuse, I don't know that there's advice, except to get out and save yourself, because the first thing I think is safety, and the safety of yourself and the safety of your child or children. It really depends case to case.
All right. You heard it here first. Okay, fine. So the last question that I want to ask is how each one of you are going to improve yourself to prevent divorce the next time. Who are you going to be in that next marriage that is going to be a huge leap from who you were before? How are you going to be different in your new marriage? And each one of you can I'd love to hear what you can, in introspection and knowing what you know now with the life experiences that you've gone through, who you are going to be in your next marriage.
I'll go first.
Okay, great.
I would say that, you said it earlier, to know yourself, to know what you need, not necessarily want. I think knowing and having that clarity is a huge step. I think taking your time, for me particularly, is important because I didn't last time. It was a rush um, situation. It was long distance. So I would say take it slow. But you don't want to drag it out too long either because, it's not healthy in that sense either for the other person. But um, those two things, yeah.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, who's next?
I,
Tanya.
for sure, when I am, God willing, in my next marriage, in my ultimate marriage, I'm going to really bring out I'm going to just be fun. I'm going to be spontaneous. One thing I remember doing is at night when I would get very tired, I would just have to shut everything off, like get into bed, put on a good show. And my ex-husband used to work late. And I think when he came home, he expected me to be up and like hang out with him and talk to him. And I just wanted to go to bed. I was so tired. I think one thing I'm going to work on, and I do now with my young kids, is make myself a nice coffee in the afternoon, try to wake myself up. And even if it's for 30 minutes, just greet him and sit down with him and try to just talk to him about his day and give him that attention for that first, when he comes home, and just really be there, be present. As tired as I am, it's so crucial that they have that connection with you. And if you say, look, I'm very tired, something you want to watch, something you want to do tonight, I'm going to really make the effort to give him that attention. And that was something I look back and I said, oh my gosh, I was tired, I'm nursing, I'm this, but I really, really want to make it the relationship is I'm focused first on him. And even though I'm going to be, he may have children and I have my children, that we just don't talk about our kids at first. Like, come home and you come in and I'm going to greet you, you're going to greet me, and we're going to be together on the same page. And then we can like discuss the kids later or talk about them. But my kids will see that this relationship is
The number
really
one
important.
Yeah, got it. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. That's the exact focusing on those things that you're going to improve yourself is what is going to give you the strength to forgive and to do and to introspect and do all those things. Picking that thing and focusing on it and growing yourself into the best possible person is what's going to catapult you forward. Instead of being stuck in the past, you'll be moving forward. And that's my advice to everybody, is to sit down and give some thought to who you're going to be and then grow yourself to be that person, whether it's getting supported from people or books or therapists or whatever. Awesome. Okay. Last one. Go ahead. Naomi, let's just hear what you say. Who are you going to be?
Well, I'm going to not rush into marriage this last time, like I did the first time. I'm going to really get to know the person that I'm going to marry and ask questions and talk about everything. So there is no surprises like finances, and which was a major issue. And I never asked, and I was independent. And then I found out what was going on, and it was like, oh my gosh, I married my parents. So just really taking more time to get to know one another, get to know what's important to us, and have regular conversations. Don't let too much time go on and take things for granted and take each other for granted. Talk about what they do for you and thank them. And because I learned a lot more about men and in general and their behavior and how their whatever after I got divorced. And I thought, yeah, I could have done a lot of that better.
It's great. Okay. All right, ladies, we're out of time, but I'm so grateful to you. And for everybody who's listening, get yourself a journal, make a plan on how you are going to improve yourself as much as you can. Why is it on you? Because it's all on all of us. We each, whether you're married, you're single, you're whatever status you are, we all have to be working on ourselves. And for you who have a very specific goal of getting remarried or marrying the second, your last, whatever you want to call it, for you, it's a very, very crucial to have a journal, to do introspection, and to make a plan of what you can improve, what you can do, what you can get over, mistakes that you make that you want to improve, all of that stuff, and working on that and revisiting it every month, every day, every week, every month, but living with that as your growth plan for this year. And I give all of you a blessing, and everybody who's watching a blessing, that you should find your beshert in a speedy time, and you should have a lot of clarity in the search and a lot of clarity in the finding, and that you should have Shalom Bayis to 120. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see y'all next time. Here's the thing, ladies. If you don't subscribe, you may miss out, and you're going to miss some great content. So you need to either like us or follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, on Torah Anytime, on YouTube, or go right to our website, www.ladiestalkshow.com, and fill in a subscription button, and then you'll get every week an update on exactly what's happening. And if you do that, oh, by the way, if you subscribe on our website, you also get 10 tips to have a great relationship. Don't miss it. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot.